Hiya. So we're going to go over a few more ways that are a little bit rarer to use, but a few more ways to make 2D polyline shapes into three-dimensional solids. And those three commands that we're going to use are Loft, Revolve, and Sweep. So Loft is probably the most simple of those three, and that's basically going to let you connect two-dimensional shapes into a single three-dimensional solid. So let's show you an example by just doing a circle. Let's make it 12 inches across. That's kind of an arbitrary number. And we'll do another circle inside of there. We'll make that one 6 inches across. And let's move that out of the way so that we actually are going to get an interesting loft. So I've just moved that 24 inches. Doesn't really matter how much. This is just an example. Then, once I've created those shapes, those two things are going to define kind of the outside edges of a shape that the Loft command will create. I will type Loft to start it, hit Enter to accept, and I'm going to select the two shapes that I want to include, and you can see it's going to show me a preview of what that will look like. And if I think that's the right thing, I will hit Spacebar to accept twice. There we go. And there are, of course, other options in there that you can play with, but that is essentially how Loft works. The shapes don't have to be the same shape. It can be a rectangle into a circle, and they also don't have to be perfectly aligned with each other. So if I have this one, where clearly that's not in the same, doesn't share an axis, and I move it like that, start my Loft command, click on the two shapes that are defining the new shape. And there we go. We see the preview. Enter, enter to accept. And there we go. Lovely. So it's kind of a cool thing. Sometimes it's pretty much the only way to create the shape that you want. All right, let's talk about Revolve. So Revolve will basically take a two-dimensional shape and spin it around an axis of your choosing. So let's draw that two-dimensional shape first, just a polyline. And let's say, I don't know, let's say the shape looks like this for some reason. And then I'm going to close it like, oh, it doesn't want to take that point. Actually, well, let me do a couple of things. Okay, so I'm going to copy that so I can use it again. And then I'm going to start my Revolve command by typing REV, short for Revolve. And then it's going to ask me to define an axis. So it says specify axis start point or define axis by, and then by the object, XYZ, whatever. So I'm just going to start that axis here. And you can see that as I move that around, it's going to close or unclose it, or I can just say I want a 360-degree revolution, and now I have this solid that looks like that. Oh, I totally should have made a chess piece. Opportunity missed. Anyway, this is probably the easiest way to create a circular object that has detail in it, by creating the profile of that detail and then revolving it around a point. You can also do this where the axis is not actually connected to this shape, so then that'll give you something with a hole in the middle. So let me close that. Let me join all those, and I'm going to type my Revolve command again. Select the object I'm going to revolve, and then I'm going to start that axis some distance off of the thing. If I was actually drawing something real, then I would have, of course, specified that, but I'm not, so I didn't. And there we go. We see we have that same outside shape, but it's now been revolved around a point in the middle, which means we do, in fact, have a hole in the middle of that shape. So it's just another cool way to do some things. All right, the last one I want to show you right now is the Sweep command, where we're going to take a two-dimensional shape and then sweep it along a two-dimensional line. So to do that, I'm going to create a line. And it doesn't really matter what shape it is. We're just going to do it. It's going to be awesome. So that's the shape that I've created. And then I'm just going to create some kind of bonkers shape that I'm going to sweep along that axis. What if it's like an hourglass shape? Ooh, look at that. no precision here whatsoever. I'm just making a shape to prove a point. Okay. I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to start my sweep command. And it's going to ask me which objects I want to sweep. I'm going to say this one. And then I'm going to hit spacebar to move to the next part of the menu. And then it's going to ask me to select the sweep path. And I will select this line that I've just created here. And you can see that we have the profile of that shape, but that it is swept along that path there. There's a couple of things you should note. Let me Control Z back. The orientation of this does have an impact on how it will sweep along this. And I'm sure someone knows exactly how that orientation matters relative to this. I am not that person because I don't sweep things enough for it to make a difference. Honestly, if I need to have something sweep a certain way, I'm going to make 3 copies of it, do all the different kinds of iterations, and then, you know, see what happens. Because it takes me less time to do that than it does to try to remember. All right, so I'm going to do that again. Select my sweep path. Spacebar. Oh, you didn't like it. Sweep. Maybe it's because I was talking too much. Sweep. This is my object. Spacebar. This is my path. There we go. So you can see that that orientation is now slightly different as well. I'm sure it has something to do with the UCS, but, you know, whatever. All right, those are the 3 things that I wanted to go over. If you have questions, let me know. And happy drafting. Okay, bye.